go home, I was afraid I'd take a nap, and then I would be like on the rush hour bus. Still be trying to get here.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, YouTubers out there, and all you people on Ustream, hello, welcome to our Thursday evening open mic here at the Sacred Grounds. So first, I'd like to mention that I am your host, Mr. Natural, for all you people watching this on camera out there, and think I'm just a cartoon and folded in a page somewhere. I'm actually in 3D. This is an example of good technology in 3D printers, ladies and gentlemen. And tonight we do not have a feature, and next week we will not have a feature. However, starting in June we will. Again, and on June 11th, our feature will be Rainbow, and that will be my birthday gift to myself.
I'm on the 27th. Yeah?
Well, yeah, I'll look at it. You're there.
Yeah.
If you wrote it in, you're there. So what we're going to do tonight is just relax. I'm going to call you up to the stage, and you can spend as much time as you'd like. If you want to play 4 songs, I'm fine with that. We'll give you 15, 20 minutes, whatever. Take our time. And spend about an hour and a half getting to know each other. Now normally, as you know, I don't do anything. I just go sit down at this point, but I thought I would pull out some of my old shtick.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Do a little entertaining
Where'd you pull that
myself.
stick out of?
My ass.
Whoa, whoa.
Where it feels the best.
Stick back.
Put a feather on it.
Somebody wake James up.
Put a feather on it, and I'm done for life.
Don't worry, James. When I go up, I'll play a bunch of lullabies,
So, this is a song you all heard me do before. It's a nice old blues done by a guy named Cow Davenport. It's called I Ain't No Iceman. Probably it was recorded in 1926 by Thomas Edison. That's how far back it goes. I think it's the first blues song ever recorded. And then he had to come back into the studio 10 years later to re-record it, because they recorded it on those little round cylinders. And then Edison invented this thing, the flat plate. He invented the 75, right? So I got this off the 75. I ain't no Iceman. I ain't no Iceman's son. I ain't no Iceman. I ain't no Iceman's son. But I'll keep you plenty of cool, babe, until that Iceman comes. I ain't no wood chopper, I ain't no wood chopper's son. Taking it slow. I ain't no wood chopper, I ain't no wood chopper's son. But I'll cut you a cord of wood, babe, until that wood chopper comes. I ain't no stove man, I ain't no stove man's son. I ain't no stove man, I ain't no stove man's son. But I'll keep you plenty of warm, babe, until that stove man comes. I ain't no butcher, I ain't no butcher's son. I ain't no butcher, I ain't no butcher's son. but I can furnish you plenty of meat, babe, until that butcher comes. Ooh, it's starting to get dirty around here. I ain't no milkman, I ain't no milkman's son. I ain't no milkman, I ain't no milkman's son. But I can furnish you plenty of cream, babe, until that milkman comes.
Oh, out here. All right.
Let's get to it. I ain't no pirate, I ain't no pirate, hun. I ain't no pirate, I ain't no pirate, hun. But if you keep showing me all your treasures, hun, then I'm gonna steal me some. Now you might recognize this. Going to Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. Going to Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. They got some crazy ways of loving there, and I'm gonna steal me some. Sounds like the Castro Man. Ooh, Folsom Street Parade. I ain't no Iceman, I ain't no Iceman, son. I ain't no pirate, I ain't no pirate, hun. But I'll furnish you plenty of meat and heat and bud and bud and buds and duds and buds and pot and anything I can give you as long as we stay high. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Dirty old man.
Such a dirty old man.
Dirty old man. Ooh, I guess that's why nobody comes anymore. And now just a small poem. Troubadour sings a sweet melody of love, sewing as with needle and thread all souls that hear his silvery tones, joining the head to the heart through tongue and ear, shows what fine craftsmanship this man owns. Well done, my friend. Well spun. Okay, on our list, the first one up tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to the stage, is going to be a buddy of mine. We just recently, this last Sunday, went to a David Bromberg. If you don't know David Bromberg, man, you just don't know shit about music. I mean, he's played, the interesting thing about David is, he's played with every major artist and every major band on both the east, as he says, the left and the right coast, as well as England and most of Europe. And the interesting thing about him that I find even the most interesting, he likes music so much that half of the albums he's on, they don't even have his name on the back of the jacket. They left it off and he didn't care. That's how much he cares about music. That guy is all about the song. So I'd like to bring up my buddy, Rivo, Ryan Voss, please.
Right there.
3 songs.
I ain't no rival, and I ain't no rock. I don't know where to go from there. Okay, well, I'm going to start off with a cover tune, and by the way, I'm going to have James Conrad come join me on my second song, but for right now, let's do someone else that I know just cared about music and was an amazing artist and very, very influential in my own songwriting. And of course, I'm talking about Rainbow. You know this guy, Mr. George Harrison.
Ah, yeah.
In 2002, a year after he died, was released his final album. And if you have not heard it, called Brainwashed, please, please get your hands on it. It is a beautiful album. It is one of my favorite albums of all time, and it's such a, some of it's kind of a tearjerker, but you know, you got to think, this guy was dying. You know, he knew he didn't have much life. He knew that he wasn't going to live to see the completion of the album. But every single track in that song is just so peaceful and just so witty and so George. You know, and it's just that there's nothing hateful on it. It is a wonderful album, start to finish. So I'm going to do a song from that. This is called Rising Sun.
Yeah. Woohoo!
On a street of villains, taken for a ride.
Oh yeah.
You can have the devil as a guide. Crippled by the boundaries, programmed into guilt, till your nervous system starts to tilt. And in a room of mirrors, well, you can see for miles, but everything that's there is in disguise. And every word you've uttered, and every thought you've had, is all inside your files, the good and the bad. But in the rising sun, you can feel your life begin. The universe at play inside your DNA, and you're a million years old today. Oh, the rising sun, and the place it's coming from is inside of you, and now your payment's overdue. Oh, the rising sun. Oh, the rising sun. On the island of sinners, I have been employed, working there till I was near destroyed. I was almost a statistic inside a doctor's case, till I heard the messenger of inner space. He was sending me a signal that for so long I have ignored, but he held on to my umbilical cord until the ghost of memory locked in my body, out to Mr. George Harrison. Okay, James Conrad's going to join me for the tail end of this one. Hold on one moment. We're going to switch to the house guitar because playing the 12 string on this song hurts my hand.
So will the house guitar.
Well, the house guitar has a.
I think in the aftermath of writing Roadkill, that's what my hand feels like after playing it on there.
There aren't steel strings on there, there's little slinkies.
That's fine.
Little slinkies.
There you go.
I'm going to sit down and just warm up. Alright. This is off my first album. For those of you here who haven't got one, I'm selling my first album for $5. It's called Well Then Shut 'Em Up. And here's a tune right off that little lad. It's called Roadkill. And keeping with the blues theme you had going there, Nash. Reaching out to cyberspace with itchy trigger fingers. Well, I'm trying to connect and never staring back at me. I'm all too quickly lost over by some meaningless display. 'Cause you know I'm roadkill on the information highway. Well, this lady and I were never delightful conversation. Well, so it would be if I could just get a word in. A text is about a novel by now, but should be done in a few more days. 'Cause I'm roadkill on the information highway. Connected, but not really connecting. I remember what we Kansas failed once human beings. Now we're all Mr. and Mrs. Anderson version 2.0. It's version 3.5, and it's ready for your updated. Life and Mother Nature flutter past my window. Still nowhere near my windows at speed. I'm hanging by a thread, a string of eyes to fly by carbon latte. 'Cause you know I'm roadkill of the information highway. I want you to imagine the most beautiful, beautiful guitar solo you could ever hear in your life. Just keep that going. It'll fill the blank spot here. Yeah, you know I'm roadkill on the information highway. Connected, but not really connecting. I remember when Kansas found we were once human beings. Now we're all Mr. and Mrs. Anderson version 2.0. It's version 3.5, and it's ready for your updated. Well, I give up trying to talk to you. Your hard drive something's crashed. Nothing exists for you outside your iPad screen. I try so hard to hold your attention, but this goddamn USB cable just won't fit into my face today. 'Cause I'm roadkill on the information highway. And it feels so out of place in time, and this time it feels like no one's left. Everybody's here and there, not really anywhere. Well, there's no sense of pain in this mortal core, but the very cybernetic on the disc. 'Cause you know I'm roadkill on the information
will set you just right.
I know the way home.
Have you or a loved one been injured or killed by the fatal oleander cure? Call the Shyster Law Offices. Your computer may have a virus. If you don't believe us, we'll give you one. Click here to visit this website full of thousands of beautiful single ladies misrepresenting themselves and pretending to be your best friends. System error, you have not had your meat. You cannot. System
Sorry,
error.
modem crashed. You know how it is with the internet. But you know, it's all good because Mr. Natch knows, Kevin North knows, Charles Haymarket, Rainbow, you all know. We're just all roadkill on the permission highway.
Yippee.
Thank you very much.
Encore.
Oh, yeah.
Encore,
James,
yeah.
oh, give it up for James Conrad. Come on now.
Yeah. Nice voiceover.
That was it. All right, back to the old 12-string. Show it some love.
Hey, what did you do?
Oh, I just
Okay.
did the spoken word thing, I guess. Like,
See, Roadkill has little joke advertisements making fun of the internet. That's the whole point of that song, because I, you know, just to give you a little backstory, Roadkill, it started off actually being inspired by a friend's song over at Bizarre Cafe. This gal I know named Rosanne did a song about the cloud, which I thought was interesting, but I remember listening to the lyrics thinking, it's a little too intellectual, it's a little too highbrow, you know, and I thought, well, there's a way to simplify that, and I thought about the information highway, roadkill, you know, which is kind of, you know, a metaphor for how I feel, because, you know, I mean, well, hell, Mr. Natural, you know this, you know, we've gone to restaurants and stuff where there's not one human being with their eyes on another human being, they're all on their, you know, iPads and shit, you know, and so it's a look into the demented behavior of our fellow humans, which is just getting worse and worse as the day progresses. By the way, funny story with Roadkill. I played it one night here at the grounds when we had we had Ryan Casada and one of his friends. And Ryan Casada comes up and says, "Oh, that's a great song." One of his friends who was here in the building wrote me on Facebook, which went to my phone saying, "Hey, I like that song." And I'm looking at her like, I think you missed the point by about a mile. Okay. So we're going to do another sort of bluesish number. This is called Saltwater Blues. I'm not thirst for aching hair. Come home with just enough bread. Satiated for another few hours. Has another smoke on your wheel. I'm not the only one who needs a bed. Each day is a wage, each face tomorrow all spent. Losing ourselves in that wrong chord with faint hope for a better deal. It's all saltwater blues, just enough to keep you floating without direction or refreshment. Saltwater blues, enough to fill your glass and drain your bone dry. Saltwater blues, keeping us adrift and delusional, slowly sapping our cracked lips. You shut open wide just in the nick of time. You know, when I'm old, arthritic and sick, long gone, no longer grinding years, I'm realized for those few years, those one or two not yet tumbled past. In vain pursuit of all those dreams, I'm too seen now to remember. Nobody saying.
Yeah,
All right.
right.
All right.
RIVO. That stands for Ryan Voss, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Voss. Now I'd like to welcome to the stage one of our regulars. He will be doing the feature on my birthday, June 11th. Welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Rainbow! Woo!
Hey, thanks, Mr. Nacho.
Oh, yeah.
Grateful Dead is coming down. Don't wanna see you looking so down. Take all your troubles, take all your wealth, take all your sorrow and take all your care. The Grateful Dead is coming to town, planting the seeds where the garden grows. I hope you get your flowers down. Deep within your spirit lies you on an easy ride past the point when Madeline tell you no lie. When it's time to die, you better kiss it all goodnight. When the world is falling brightly colored, parading, radiantly cascading, and there's a kaleidoscope of colors everywhere, and flowers in your hair, flowers in your hair. We're going home again, and there'll be no more pain, and you can air your brain from going half insane in the pouring rain. The Grateful Dead is coming to town. I don't wanna see you looking so down. Take all your trouble, take all your wealth, take all your sorrow, and take all your care. Grateful Dead will come into town, planting the seed where the garden grows. I hope it gets your flowers done. Thank you. That's the only song I ever wrote on acid. Right after the first concert of the Grateful Dead.
I don't think I've heard it since you were on acid. It's been a long time.
You're not on this acid now?
No, the song is, it brings it back.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's flashbacks. It's
Fresh on acid tonight.
musical flash.
What?
This song is about a hopeless romantic called Butterfly Lament. Oh, if I can be your sweet loving man, let me be the ground you walk upon. Yeah, if I can be the one that you really love. And believe, let the old song is gay, baby. When things are going your way, going your way. Oh, baby, I will do anything for you, babe. You know I'll die can't be in your bloodstream, baby. You can't even have my dream. Ooh. I'm just a butterfly. I love you till I die. Ooh, if you want me to go away, I'll be gone today. If that's what you want. Oh, 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 I'm just a butterfly. I love you till I die. Yeah, yeah, I'm just a butterfly. I love you till I die. Yeah, wow, I'm just a butterfly. I'll love you till I die.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Poor romantic thing.
Yeah, that poor butterfly.
Unrequited love.
But this song is called When It's Time to Say Goodbye.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
When it's time to say goodbye, one of us die. Still I hope that you'll learn to fly, or never reach the sky, land upon some higher ground, where no one can bring it down. Put you in a state of pain, but driving you insane. I only hope my love gets through, somehow makes it back to you. I'll only hope my love gets through, somehow makes it back to you. When it's time for us to die, and one of us may cry, please don't let it be there. We didn't give it a try. I only hope my Lord gets through, somehow makes it back to you. Whoa, yeah, only hope my love gets through, somehow makes it back to you. When it's time to say goodbye, when it's time to
Rainbow, ladies and gentlemen. That was Rainbow. And now I'm going to make some room here. This gentleman had about a year and a half ago started coming to the Wednesday nights thing, and I've noticed over the weeks he's been coming more and more often now, and now he's coming almost every Wednesday night. And now it's poured over to Thursday evening, so we'd like to welcome him to the stage. Put your hands together for the Clyde Show, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come on, and step right up. Folks, gonna grab yourself a front row seat before they're gone, or they're going fast. You don't want to miss this. It's time for another exciting installment of the Clyde Always Show. With me, your always clever, always handsome, always charming host, Clyde Always. And thank you for that, you can. Once upon a time, there was a realm of existence known as the universe. And within this universe was a tiny blue speck of dust called the whole wide world. And upon this world was a veritable infestation of creatures known as human beings. And these creatures loved nothing better than to be distracted by these things called stories. And it all started innocently enough with some ooga boogas and some ba-ba-bops, but before long, they created concertos and stage plays, printing presses, moving pictures, and eventually all hell had broken loose as tiny electrons zipped across glowing screens and were everywhere the creatures looked. But tonight, folks, tonight, we shall reel it all back to where it all began, with some ooga boogas and some ba-ba-bops. And without any further ado, I present to you my yo-yo yarn. I was walking along and I happened to see that a box had been laid on the ground. And with wonders, the box was as packed as could be, so my fingers, they rooted around. What I pulled from the box was a trinket forgotten. I thought that it couldn't be true, that a fellow could leave such a beauty to rot as a yo-yo, a shimmering blue. Well, I picked it on up and I strolled up the block and I fingered the loop on the string and I slapped it and off with the dog on a walk and I caught it and gave it a fling and I flung it and spun it the rest of the week and I threw it with all of my might and the people, they marveled at Bluey, unique till the string got all tangled up tight. Well, I labored to pick it and pull it apart, but the knot, it was stubbornly stuck. So I cut it to bits and it busted my heart and I cursed on my pitiful luck. As my beautiful yo-yo was still as a stone, it was good as a train with no track. And as no one I knew had a string they could loan, I decided to purchase a pack. So I checked all the shops and I searched every store and I asked any clerk I could find if they happened to carry a packet of foreign of no particular kind. But a lot of them frowned and their eyes full of ice and they told me to go for a hike. So I packed up my bag and I took their advice and I thumbed down a truck on the pike. And the trucker, he smiled and welcomed me in and he squawked and he blathered and bawled and he offered me smokes and a swig of his gin and he told me the cargo he hauled. He said, "Son, I suppose you could never have guessed what I'm carrying back in the rear. I got nothing but strings and I swear they're the best, but I've had them for more than a year. And I tried to deliver the load, but ain't nowhere is there a demand. So it's me and these strings and we're stuck on the road. Say, and you got a yo-yo on hand?" Well, I reached in my pocket and giggled a bit as the trucker was picking up speed. I was shaking so hard I was having a fit in my hands, it was sweaty indeed. As I pulled out my beautiful yo-yo, as sure that old rig hit a bump with a punch, and it flew out the window, and you can be sure that I heard a most deafening crunch. You guys hear about Witless Will? Witless Will, who was whittling into the wind, is wondering why? He's wiping a wood chip out of his eye. This portion of the Clyde Always Show has been brought to you in part by the following. She's got a rubber mat and some spandex pants. She's puffing on a hand-rolled stogie. She's got a Buddhist tattoo, so there's a chance that she could be a real yogi. Visit your local yoga studio today for affordable rates on the path to enlightenment. We now return you to our regularly scheduled broadcast. It's time for the tale of Manny and the hot dog cart. Once upon a time, not too long ago, in the Mission District of San Francisco, there lived a man named Manny. And Manny had come all the way from the wilds of the Yucatan to have a go at the American dream. So one day, Manny, with his own two hands and with scraps that he found for free, built himself a hot dog cart on wheels. And he bought a big tank of propane, and some links and some bacon and buns, not to mention the onions and mustard and hot sauce and tinfoil too. And that very night, Manny set up on the corner of 16th and Valencia streets, and the people walked by and they bought. He sold out his whole stock, and he went to bed rich and fat and happy. And the next day, Manny returned, his cart bursting with supplies, only to find no less than 7 other guys set up on the same corner slinging hot dogs themselves. They'd stolen his idea. Well, Manny set up and sold a few, and he'd started to eat his losses when a cleaning lady, laden with brooms and mops and buckets and rags, came up to him. And she spoke to him in Mayan, his native tongue. She said, "I'm a wicked witch. I've got something here that could clean up the competition." Well, Manny said, "What do you want in return, witch?" She said, "You'll know that when the time comes, Manny." And folks, Manny agreed. She then handed him a miniature handheld vacuum cleaner and hobbled away. Well, Manny stood there a minute, the vacuum in hand. Then he crossed to the other side of the street. He crept up behind a man with a stand, and he took aim, and he flipped the switch, and believe it or not, he sucked up the whole operation. Man and fire and meat and onions and all. And he did it again, and again, and again, and until his was the only stand left. At which point 3 mariachis walked by, not singing, but munching away on pupusas. So Manny marched on down to the pupuseria and sucked up all those tasty pockets. At which point a hipster girl walked by and nibbling a slice of pizza pie like a rat on a cracker. So Manny sucked up the whole pizzeria, and most of the building attached, and the water mains burst, and sparks flew, and people screamed, and the sirens roared to the block. And the police surrounded Manny, clubs aloft. But Manny sucked them up, and he sucked up the cruisers and vans and snarling dogs. And he sucked up the buildings and wires and poles, and he sucked up the sidewalks and sewers and streets. Then he sucked up the whole city. Then he sucked up the whole world. Then he sucked up the planets and cosmos and stars. And then Manny, he stood quite alone on a field of desolate white, with a vacuum in one hand and his sorry hot dog cart in the other. At which point a man appeared to Manny. The man was short and tall. The man was fat and skinny. The man was ugly and handsome. The man was black and white and yellow and red and brown. He was an everyman. And he snatched the vacuum from Manny's hand. And he spoke to Manny in Mayan, which, as you know, was Manny's native tongue. He said, "What have you done?" Oh, Manny lowered his head and replied, "I don't know." And the everyman said, "I shall have to punish you for this, Manny." And Manny agreed. The everyman thought for a moment and said, "I will send you back to the place of your birth 1,000 years before you were born, and there you shall live out the rest of your days." And just like that, Manny awoke, as if from a dream, atop a pyramid, his back on a block and his hands and feet restrained. Below him were writhing masses, screaming for his blood, and above him was a familiar face, grinning a vile grin, none other than that of the cleaning lady, wielding not a feather duster, just a razor-sharp shard of obsidian. Meanwhile, the everyman on the field of white pointed the vacuum straight out and powered it into reverse. And out popped the planets and cosmos and stars. And the earth that fell right into place. And the city streets lined up all square in a grid. And the people, they hit the ground walking. And at last the vacuum had sputtered and coughed, and believe me now, folks, as I swear I would never tell you no humbug. That night, all across the mission, it rained down a torrent of pizza pie slices and pupusas and bacon-wrapped hot dogs all smothered in onions. And down the street went the cleaning lady, Manny's soul buried deep in her pockets. And she snagged a hot dog right out of the air. She took a big bite, and she snickered. "Damn, Manny, these things suck." Thanks for listening. I got some time. Yeah, cool. Here's a brand new one. It's called The Day the Internet Got Wet. And it goes like this. On a sweltering day in the middle of May, I was kicking it out on the boat. No, not sailing at sea, but as still as could be in marina, my vessel afloat. While the sun brightly shone, I was lost in my phone, just revising a message I wrote. But busy my mind, so I set out to find a distraction to quiet and lull. So I clicked on a link and neglected to think of the waves as they wept on the hull. Or above all my tweets with his triangle feet sat a mocking and squawking old gull. So the minutes I passed on the deck by the mast with the videos viral galore. And I fed on the buzz with a smile because I could easily watch a few more. All the folks in the vids were all funny young kids and their antics were hard to ignore. When some splashing I heard that I thought was a bird, it inspired my head to look up. Such a beautiful sight that I jumped in delight and I spilled what was left in my cup. What was paddling by with a glint in his eye was a slippery sea lion pup. To the railing I rose, and his whiskery nose was pointing at me like a spear. How I looked on amazed as with pity he gazed, for he dove to the depths of the pier. Then it died, my device, but I found that quite nice, as my mind, it was finally clear. Oh, thanks for listening to that one, everybody. That's it, that's all the time I got. 2 minutes?
Yep.
Sweet. All right, here we go. Here's a political poem for you. It's called Old Bluey and Big Red. It goes like this. Now, some may say that 2's too few, but me, it's all I need. So 1 is red and 1 is blue, and 2's enough indeed. Old Bluey is my tender love, and comfort never hurts. But Big Red is the warmest of my fucking flannel shirts. Oh, thanks, everybody. Next up, I got one more and then I'm out of here. It's called The Landlady, and it goes like this. Oh, in my youth, I used to tramp the coast of California. And mighty fun it was to camp, though bitter cold, I'll warn ya. So thus I sought a room to let, just something warm and cozy, and otherwise would not have met the lovely Lady Rosie. She ran a humble boarding house, the western side of the city. She'd not a family nor a spouse, but loved a cat named Kitty. Her smile flashed a blinding blur, her eyes were gray and steely. Her curves were round as peaches, her demeanor touchy-feely. Now quick the weeks they came and went, and always short on money. So Rosie said, in lieu of rent, you work for me now, honey. Well, first I hosed her gutters out. I did it fast and steady. Then next she had me lay some grout, and boy, my brow was sweaty. I cleaned her carpet, made it gleam. The whole time I was humming. I poured her puss a splash of cream. She found that quite becoming. But then she sent me on my way, abruptly so and shocking. I packed my bag in time to say goodbye and started walking. These days my youth is gone and dead, and money ain't no issue. Yet still I lay awake in bed and weep into a tissue and reminisce when to my name I never had a penny, and wonder if she does the same, but tenants has she many. Thanks, everybody. Tune in this Friday at Cafe International for another episode of the Clyde Always Show. Good night.
The Clyde Always Show. That was Clyde, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for Clyde one more time. Now, next week we do have nobody, but the week after that will be Kevin North. So on the 28th will be Kevin North. On, I guess it's the 4th, will be Lady Zeitgeist, and then will be Rainbow. So, right now, without delay, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to our stage Charles Haymarket and the Haymarket Experience.
Everyone leaves the room.
Not me. I'm here.
I know that's right.
Yeah. Okay, Rainbow's here.
That's all that counts. You losers don't count. Alright, here we go. I'm gonna try to do a good version of this song because I think I messed it up last week. All along the riverbank, where'd our water go? All along the dry river bank, people wanna know, where'd our water go? Where'd our water go? And they asked the sewer plant, they asked the power plant, they asked the giant dam, they asked the fracking site, they asked the factories who make all the things the fire put out with the water. All along the riverbank, people wanna know, where'd our water go? Where'd our water go? It's not just you, and it's not just me, but the damage we do, we seldom see. And when the facts stare at us all plain as day, we look away, we look away, look away. All along the riverbank, people wanna know, where'd our water go? Where'd our water go? All along the dry riverbank, people wanna know, where'd our water go? Where'd our water go? They asked the tanks by the 100,000s and the cars by the billions more. They asked the jet fighters in the sky to everything into blood and smoke. They asked the factory farms in the valley and the experiments around the coast. He noticed to cry at all, yeah, once the water goes, where'd our water go? All along the riverbank, people wanna know, where'd our water go? Where'd our water go? All along the riverbank, people wanna know, where'd our water go? Where'd our water go? And it's not just you, it's not just me, but the damage we do, we seldom see. And when the facts stare at us all plain as day, we look away, we look away, we look away, don't look away.
Where did it go?
One little phrase that I still didn't get it quite there.
Mostly in Bakersfield,
It's
right?
supposed to be. Oh yeah, all the others. There's almonds at 8%.
All goes to the agriculture.
Everything she said felt like some old familiar town. Once I lost, yeah, I should know my way around. Each and every picture marked our road, and each trophy meant the most. Every morning, cereal and toast. Yeah, I never really knew you, man. Secretly longed at the coast. Waiting or shredding at the seams, they glory. I believed all your stories. I know them all by road. Never for it. I never know. What really bothers me is my stories too. Yeah, I believe them like you. I believe them all too. You were like my mother, Charlene. You could have looked out for us. We could have been contenders, yet got the rug pulled out from under us. More than some, be a matter of trust. And if I probably blame you, you kick up such a fuss. You say it's all this way, yeah, we'll be this way, but I don't even hear you. It's all blah and such. Your own shredded the seams, fading their glory. I believed all your stories. I know them all by road, and I'm fucking bored. I never know. And what really bothers me is my stories too. Yeah, I believe them like you. I believe them all too. I believe them all too. You look back on me someday, kids, and curse my face. Even though it was me who helped bring you into this place. Yeah, no, you don't count down the legacy ways. Child, what can I tell you that we're just trying to save face? I heard things are this way, yeah, be this way, but don't even hear me. It's all just blah and such. My old shredded seams, fading their glory. I believed my own stories. I know them all by road, and now I'm bored. I never know what might bother me. So your stories too. Yeah, that's sad. I believe them all too. I believe them all too. I believe them all. We all believe them. We all believe them. With each and every step I take, every move that I make, with each line carved by every tear. Through all the years, the lines across my face help me retrace those before us and those before them, and each and every person that's ever been lives through us again. Chromosome and gene, nightmare and daydream, every little tiny drop of blood was all handed down. The gold all melted down. Stories passed around, bones buried in the ground. all those before us, and those before them, and all those before them, and all those before them, and all those before them may now be against you. Thank you. I have a CD for sale. This song's not on it. I played you guys so much stuff lately. So I was gonna have some fun, but I'm not. So I don't remember enough of the song to do some instant changing. And don't want to fall back on the Fuck You Johnny song, especially since he's out here. So I'm gonna stick with the hits. We both born under the bar, and they got the more. Hell, we fell in love with our mouth buttons on. We broke apart, our police stake is strong. Who wants to live well without love anyway? I'm sorry. Who wants to live in a world without love anyway? I'm sorry. Who wants to play the game where the rules change? Yeah, watch them change. Moon turned off blood red for war, and they got that more. Then we ran to the north to try to be free, but we found the fate. What's to be? Who wants to live in a world without love anymore? I'm sorry. Who wants to live well without love anyway? I'm sorry. Now who wants to play the game where the rules change? Yeah, change. not met, love lives in our heart. Let's never part. Never part. Who wants to live in a world without love in a way? I found it. Who wants to live in a world without love in a way? Just be happy. Who wants to play a game when life's too brief for games?
Charles Haymarket, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for Charles, please. God, that was some fucking incredible picking. I love it when you get those two lines going and you start braiding them together like you're putting together some guy's hair. It's just amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so Clyde was telling a little story. One of his stories was about the hot dog vendor, and it reminded me back in 1966, I came here to San Francisco from Chicago. And then in 1968, I went back to Chicago to say hi to my family and get some things to come back out here. And there was this thing going on called the Democratic Convention. And I got a chance to see a lot of people who I grew up with turn into brutal monsters and do weird things. So I wrote a poem, which I consider to be the angriest poem I've ever written. And it simply goes, fires exploding in my mind, red, purple, blue, orange, gold, pain, throbbing, throbbing, throbbing. And as I turned to see who had struck me, an officer grimaced. And then I died, and the world kept turning. How dare it? Now I'd like to welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, another wordsmith. He's been coming here for every week now, reading from his novel, and I'll let him explain it all to you. Let's welcome James Conrad to the stage, ladies.
Scoot a little over. Oh, I need that one, yeah.
Stand mic.
Okay. So my name is James Conrad, and I have written a novel called Zurdo Cleans House, which is basically about institutionalized racism, which is, you know, has been a thing in our society, for, you know, very much like since the start of this country. And now we've seen Zurdo in his remand cell, you know, as he's accused of murder and child molestation. You know, we've seen his family visited him, and we've been through the trial, and now we come to the verdict in the case of the people of the state of California versus Lorenzo Carlos Ruiz in episode 19 of Zurdo Cleans House. On Tuesday, February 29th, 2000, after a few short days of deliberation, the jury convicted Zurdo of first-degree murder, multiple counts of lewd acts with a minor, and reckless endangerment of a minor. As the verdict for each count was read, Zurdo gazed into the distance with a vacant stare and a disdainful sneer while his brothers and sisters wept with no shame. The second he returned to his remand cell, he released a heavy sigh of relief and smiled to himself just a little once the door was slammed and locked behind him. In a rather peculiar way, he was actually grateful to be there. After removing his shirt, he assumed a fighter's stance and practiced his karate for the next 3.5 hours, then stretched back on the concrete bunk and fell right asleep. 3 days later, Zurdo stood before the bench and looked up at Judge Malcolm Connors. Lorenzo Carlos Ruiz, you have been found guilty of all charges against you by a jury of your peers, said Judge Connors, his voice thick with vindictive disdain. I hereby sentence you to life in state prison with no parole, plus 16 years. With that, Judge Connors brought his gavel down one last time as Zurdo stared ahead, numb and bereft of emotion. As two officers escorted Zurdo outside the courtroom, he stared ahead as he was led through the bellowing throng of protesters and news reporters who jostled forward to get a good look at him, exchanged some small talk with him, or both, only to be backed off by the policemen at either side of him. Above the din, Zurdo heard a young man's voice cry out, "Don't worry. They may have convicted him, but nothing's over yet. In fact, this is only the beginning. Truth and justice will prevail, believe me." As Zurdo was eased into the back seat of the patrol car, he smiled as the crowd began to chant, "Don't let them win! Don't let them win! Don't let them win! Don't let them win!" Thank you very much. And that was episode 19 of Zurdo Cleans House, concluding Act 1, basically. And we will continue next week with episode 20. This has been the Sacred Grounds Open Mic. My name is, I remain faithfully, James Conrad, and enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks again, Mr. Nashville.
Thank you, James. So now we've gotten the verdict, and now he goes back to jail. And this is the part where we, as a group of people, get to turn our head in absentia and allow the people in jail to turn our friend into a criminal. So, you know that old saying, watch out what you wish for. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 28th of this month, we are going to have a feature by a guy named Kevin North, and I'd like to bring him to the stage right now so you can get a little taste. Kevin North, please. You'll be next there.
Oh, it's a bit of a blues theme here tonight, isn't it? So,
Oh, yeah.
Bluesy mood.
Oh, yeah.
don't have no worries. Worries and troubles come around. Don't have no worries. Worries and troubles come around. Well, keep telling. Gotta keep my feet on the ground. Nobody saw me crying. Nobody knows the way I feel. Nobody saw me crying. Nobody knows the way I feel.